everyone. And first of all, Janine and Marie, thank you so much for the warm welcome. It feels like it's coming full circle from when we met a few years ago. I was brand new to London. I had just resigned from my job in DC, sold my studio apartment, moved to London. My now husband, Christopher, he got me over across the pond. And I was sitting in our flat wondering, what the heck am I going to do with my life? And I started freelancing. I started looking for just different things to do online. And I bumped into Empower World, looking for a business manager. And I got really excited about your website and just the things that I read, and I applied for the job, and luckily I got it. I always tell people things happen serendipitously if we're available for it. And so I've been working closely with Marie and Janine for a few years, first in that role, and then they offered for me to come to a place called Qatar in the Middle East to do ICF, International Coach Federation training. And I had no plans of being a coach. I had no plans of running a business, but it just sounded like something I should do. And so I did. I flew over 3 times, got to meet you all in person, got to meet more of the alumni. And that's just how life happened. And so a lot of times people see me with the company now 3 years later, but I really started with a big question mark, not having known much about coaching, and just leaning into what my purpose was and what felt most aligned for me. And so I'm very grateful for them. Like, I cannot tell you all how grateful I am to have been connected to and invited, because it's been a life changer for me. And today I do run a company. It was formerly Tracey Liv. I'm now rebranding that to Liv.Lit with the exclamation point. A play off of my maiden name, Livingston, and just encouraging people to live more lit up. That's really the premise. And so what I do is I do all the inner work and self-mastery. I work with established business leaders and entrepreneurs primarily. People who really want to achieve outer success. They've got goals and dreams, big visions, and they want to focus on themselves. They know that they're the engine of change. They know that there are things holding them back, and people work with me for the inner work. And so I could talk on and on about that, but that's really the gist of it. And
Tracey, you've gone on mute.
Okay. And I'm just saying, I'm really pleased to train you in conflict resolution today, because this has been something very important in my life that started over 8 years ago when I worked in American University in Washington, D.C. And I'll share a little bit about that. But let me just check in. Marie and Janine, shall I begin as the co-host? Would that work?
Yes, please, Tracey.
Okay. So I know Marie is gonna give me the hosting abilities, and I'll share my PowerPoint. So I think most of our videos will get scrunched down. But while we wait, I am now the host. This is exciting. While we wait, I want to get a sense of the 60 people that are in this room. I feel very honored to see a lot of new names, but some people I do see that I know you. One of my clients is calling in from California. It is 2 a.m. there, so I think you get a gold star. While I share my screen, if you all could let me know your number of years either coaching, if you run a coaching business or you coach in a company, just a little bit more about your background with coaching, as well as your exposure. Have you had any training in conflict resolution or not? It would be helpful for me to know a little bit about your level coming in. So just drop a couple of those in the comments and let me get a sense of the room. Okay. All right, so if you all can see my screen, Marie, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see the screen? Everyone can see the screen? Can I see some? All right, good, thank you. Amazing, everyone, please let me know, let it keep rolling about your, what you do with coaching and if you've had any experience with conflict resolution. And if you did take the sample assessment, so you've received emails about the training, some of you did take this TKI sample. I just want to note that if you got the score of withdrawing as your top answer, that should be called accommodating. So look at your assessment if you took it, and if withdrawing was your top score, please rename it to accommodating. I noticed that there was a typo in there. Okay, so we do have some people that have had conflict resolution training. This is exciting. I've trained rooms of 50, more than 50, and almost no one raises their hand. It's an interesting concept because conflict is everywhere. It's natural, and yet many of us haven't, in either our schooling systems or trainings, we have to be almost searching for it rather than it being trained to us. So this is really great to see everyone, the work that where you're working, where you're coaching, as well as your experiences. And so keep that flowing. And I want to make sure this training is very relevant for you. So I would love for you to sit back, identify a conflict or a challenge that you're experiencing. So think about your life, and this is supposed to be related to you, not to your clients. So are you having a challenge as a coach with one of your clients? Is there a dynamic or something that's not working for you and you haven't quite resolved it yet? It could be with a partner, family, or friend. Inner conflicts, which I work on constantly. I just worked on my inner conflict of overworking and constantly filling my time, and that's a conflict that I recognize about myself that doesn't serve me. Maybe you have a choice or a decision you need to make. So take a moment and write it down. Please have pen and paper. What's something that's going on in your life right now? Because I'd love for you to be able to look at the training through that lens. And when I'm sharing some tools, you'll be able to start to self-coach yourself. Yes, Alice, inner conflict is conflict. That is right. I can't wait to get into that. So what conflicts are you experiencing? Drop yours, if you're brave enough, in the comments. What's going on in your world? What are you being challenged with? Maybe you're procrastinating on something and it's just the conflict that you can't seem to overcome. Or a client keeps canceling and you're conflicted with how to respond to this person or how to navigate that challenge. Let's see a couple before we move forward. And some of my clients are on here, so I'm watching for you. Robin, evolving as an individual, not getting support from family and friends. Thank you. Graham has an inner conflict. Would be great if you got more specific, and that's okay if you keep it to yourself. Amber, I struggle to deal with people who do not listen or are defensive. Okay, so you struggle with that type of relationship dynamic. Mills, getting better at not avoiding and accommodating. You have done some TKI with me. Procrastinating, writing papers, avoiding. I'm reading these out loud because you all might also be having similar conflicts. Sharon, there's a choice you need to make. Peter, a serious conflict with an office colleague. We've all been there. An inner conflict between embracing a new career and maybe, safety or not doing what you love. So keep these coming. This is going to be a great lens that you could look at the training with. I did share a little bit about my company called Liv.Lit, and I just wanted to give you our amazing framework right on the screen because I want to highlight that the work that I've done in conflict resolution is interconnected with all of our 7 domains, which are in yellow on the left-hand side. These are the domains you probably are aware of as a coach. These are the things that you are coaching people on, their vision, their emotions. And I want to draw out of you so you could start being in your coaching sessions and looking for the behaviors. How are they acting when they're going through these challenges? I find that one of the biggest hurdles I had to get over was I was constantly looking at a client's mindset. I was always thinking, what are their beliefs? What are they thinking? And I would stay in this space. However, I want to challenge all of you to shift and start to listen as a coach to what are the behaviors? What's the result of the outcome of this conflict? Because that's where the transformational change is going to be. And so if I back up, my experience in conflict resolution really started at American University. I was trained with the PhD faculty in the International Peace and Conflict Resolution Program. They're some of the best and well-known trained faculty in conflict resolution in the country, and I'm sure globally as well. They have worked in global conflicts, Israel and Palestine. One of our faculty members from Palestine and does lots of work there. Northern Ireland, one of the faculty actually had mentioned the only time she never experienced racism in a country was in Northern Ireland because they just cared about what her religion was. And they have these fascinating deep stories of conflicts, whether big or small. And I was lucky enough to be in the room with them, getting trained by these faculty, but also then I would turn around and train our master's and undergraduate students to be dialogue facilitators. So how to help people have dialogues around race, gender, veteran and military civilian issues, you name it, on the range of identities. And so my past life was all around diversity and inclusion, leadership, and conflict. And my mission with the business and the work I do, and what you all likely do as coaches, is that I help people to align, get on the path of alignment with how they are on the inside, how they feel, your purpose, and aligning that to creating success. So outer success in business is my specialization. But how do your clients create success? They're working with you to change their life. And oftentimes as coaches, we're kind of behind the scenes supporting them to create those changes. And so I just wanted to share a little bit about my background. I am also licensed and certified with Kilman Diagnostics. They're the leaders in conflict resolution. And if you took the sample assessment, you will also have realized that some of those frameworks are from Ralph Kilman and all of them. And I'll share more details about them at the end. All right. So why does this matter to you? So why care about conflict resolution? It seems a little bit funny, but why does this matter to you? And also, why are you here? Why should you listen to me? Why should you stay to the end of the training? You could be anywhere in the world. Some of you could be sleeping. And but I really want to tell you something, that conflict resolution has changed the way that I coach and how I've noticed my clients have created bigger results as an outcome of me coaching conflict resolution within our sessions. And so none of your clients are working with you because their life is perfect, or else they wouldn't be working with you. They're working with you because they have problems, they have challenges, they have conflicts in their life. There's something holding them back. There are challenges that they're not sure what to do. They're working with you actually because life isn't this beautiful picture. Would you agree? If you agree, just put a 1 in the comments. Your clients are working with you because, not for more, better, or worse, they got problems. I work with a coach, so it's all good. They've got challenges. And so this matters to you. Love all the 1s. This matters to you because what you're actually listening for is to help them transform the challenges, the dynamics, to create different outcomes. And so if we look at the bigger picture of the world, us as coaches have a huge responsibility. There's a lot going on in the world related to COVID-19 and the lockdown, for example. You may be coaching your clients who are all of a sudden their entire life is disrupted. They may be furloughed, they may have been let go, they may be working from home, challenges working at home, challenges potentially relating to a partner, challenges related to having to navigate different ways of working. There are other big picture things going on that this relates to. So whenever there's a disruption in technology, we have to pivot and shift. We've got to change our approach. There are societal issues. So in the US, there's a lot going on around race and racism. The behavior of police, the behavior of the public are all results of how people are handling and responding to conflicts. And I could keep going on. And so as coaches, we're actually receiving people in a way where we want to help them, empower them to create different behavioral changes. And Alice, thank you for disagreeing. You said, I work with a coach, but I'm happy in my life. I just think we can also push for more. I wouldn't class myself as having problems, and I can do better. That's a great response. And there are people, exactly, I appreciate that might be really happy and want even more. And so they're good. And actually, I feel that way sometimes. They want to get to the next level, as Selena put it, and Marie's agreeing. So please, thank you for using that, and let's keep this conversation going. So the clients are working with us to help them create results, right? So your effectiveness of the coaching and the work that you're doing, or even if you're being coached, is that if things aren't changing, if the behavior doesn't change, if the conflicts or the challenges or even the results that they want aren't happening, they won't see the results, or they'll see small results. They'll also be stuck potentially in disempowering habits and behaviors. They won't be realizing their potential. So maybe Alice, your fullest potential is why you're getting a coach. So you really want to get even more, and the behavior change isn't happening. We won't really know where Alice is. You can see where you're trying to go, but you might not be getting there faster or in the way that you want. And again, if people are working with a coach, they won't reinvest either working with you, or they might, and I've seen a lot of people disenchanted with coaching. They just didn't get what they wanted. And so I think what I want to share with you with this framework in conflict resolution is how to help you be more effective in supporting the behavioral changes with your clients. And so let's see here. Okay. I like GIFs, and I had a lot of text, but hopefully you can see this one with Robbie Williams. So the definition of conflict is super important to understand, because I think most times, and maybe you all sitting there, when you hear the word conflict, you go, whoa, 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 whoa. Let's avoid it. It's bad. I don't have challenges. I don't have problems. I don't have conflicts. It's kind of, there's a negative association with it. So in conflict resolution, we often have to kind of point out a few things. Yeah, Sesame Street. I hope he's still dancing. We have to point out that conflict is actually neither good nor bad. All right, and you could use another word like challenges, difficulties, problems, however you want to say it. But really what a conflict is, inner conflict or outer, is that there's a disagreement or an incompatibility with two or more parties. So, when we see challenges at our level with the clients, if they're having a challenge with a colleague, it could be around ideology, beliefs, opinions, maybe a conflict in conscience, their moral sense of right and wrong. People sometimes don't want to go and work in the companies they're working for because it's a clash of conscience. Their values and goals might not be aligned. So all of the things that create conflict are all the things underneath the surface. And I really want you to take away this one point, is that conflict is neutral. The United States Institute of Peace says conflict is neither good nor bad, but how we behave can create positive or negative outcomes. Okay, so conflict, COVID-19, if I could make a huge a big, huge thing, is neither good nor bad. But it can create positive or negative outcomes depending on how we behave. Racism in the US, all of this stuff that's coming up. We could say the conflict is neither good nor bad, but how are we going to navigate this? How are we going to potentially create positive outcomes, innovations, more connections, change, policy changes out of this thing that we are looking at as conflict? Is this resonating with people? Maybe conflict could be neutral, that it could go either way. Just give me a 2 if you're understanding this. My partner hates it when I say COVID-19 is neither good nor bad. I know that there are many challenges with it, but what is this bringing out of us? And with conflict, it's behavioral. So please pay attention. We often think that it's a personality trait. Oh, I'm a people pleaser. I'm an accommodator. It's not. I want to hone in that it's behavioral, and you're meant to choose how you want to behave with conflict. Your clients, you're now meant to be sitting as the coach, and you're listening and saying they're meant to be choosing how they behave. So they may be avoiding a challenge, but actually that now needs to be seen when you're coaching as a choice. And maybe they're not creating the outcomes they want by avoiding it. Someone's
Tracey, could I just ask Idiot to mute themselves? I can't mute anybody because you're host, Tracey.
Oh.
So, Idiot, could you just mute yourself, please? We've got a lovely child in the background, lovely sound, but we can't hear because of it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Idia. And so, what's coming up for all of you right now? As I share that conflict, it's kind of neutral. And it's not about a personality. It's not I'm extroverted or I'm this way. It's behavioral. And I'm going to share the 5 styles in a moment, but you're actually meant to choose how you behave. Would you agree with that? Disagree with that? Just pop it in the chat. Estelle, you have a hard time understanding it's neutral. Thank you. So my understanding with the U.S. Institute of Peace, and when they talk about conflict as a neutral, something that's neutral, it's the sense that us as human beings have a role to play in the outcome of what happens as a result of the conflict. I kind of liken it to emotions. If we didn't have any emotions, it's like the world is in black and white. But when we have emotion, joy, frustration, happiness, sadness, the world starts to become in color. Okay, and we start to see things differently, and maybe we take actions based on how we want to feel. When there's a conflict in my marriage, for example, I can sit back and say, what do I really want to result as of this? There's this challenge. We have a disagreement on where to go to dinner tonight. Okay? How do I want to behave in a way where we can get the best outcomes? So conflict is just married to change. It's just meant to help us change. If there were no conflicts, there would be no change in the world. None. There would be no policy changes. I mean, I could go on and on, but when we stand up and when we say there's a problem or a challenge, it's actually helping us evolve. I believe as a species, we're meant to evolve from the conflicts. And so I like this GIF because I just want to hone in on again. When I started out coaching, I would really focus on the mindset of the client, their beliefs, what they think, and really trying to dig deep into what's going on with them. But I want to challenge you as you move forward in your work to start listening for how they're behaving. Not necessarily the limiting belief that's causing the behavior, but if you're going to coach on conflict resolution, you want to start listening to the behavior and then start digging deep. with the conflict resolution framework I'm about to share with you. I was Googling gifts at the end, like right before, and this is the mindset GIF, so I love it. So that's my biggest thing. So I'm going to just keep it rolling. So if you did the TKI sample assessment, would you be able to just drop in the comments what your top score was? In conflict resolution, this is really the framework. These are the 5 styles of conflict. When you, all of you, are walking through your life, you may be consciously or unconsciously choosing one of these styles to help you resolve the challenge. You're grabbing in your toolbox, Robin, avoidance. Oh, okay, all right, there's this conflict here, I will grab avoidance. Okay, let's see, accommodating, competing, collaborating. Lexi's in her toolbox, and when there's a challenge, her highest, most used score is competing, and she's gonna grab for it. And so the biggest thing with conflict resolution is that I want you again to remember it's behavioral. You're meant to choose all 5 of these styles in order to help your clients and yourself create different outcomes. And Alice, you're asking about the percentile score. So if you take the full TKI assessment, which this is my full TKI assessment from I think 1.5 years ago, it gives you a percentage of how frequently you use the styles from highest to lowest. And so it depends on your job. I mean, lawyers are going to be really high in competing. I'm probably high in competing as a business owner. I just wouldn't have a business if I tended to accommodate and avoid as a business leader. And I took this from the hat of that perspective. And so everyone's scores, again, they're neither good nor bad. But it's about, am I overusing them or underusing these styles? Okay, so when I'm thinking about walking through conflicts, what I'm going to show you how to do is to start to think about the styles in a way where you can use them to create the best possible outcomes. Thank you, Nellie. You avoid conflicts. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about avoidance in a moment. Just watching the time here. Okay. Are y'all following me? You have questions? We're about to get into the framework. Yeah, Alice, you used to avoid. I was a chronic accommodator. I still can be. It's all about self-awareness at the end of the day in conflict resolution. So the 5 styles, even being on this training and understanding them, is going to empower you so much to help your clients start to see things differently and change their behaviors. All right, good, Lexi, I'm glad you're following. So take a look at this. This is the TKI model without the styles written on them. In the next page, here are the styles. But I'm going to remove the styles just so you can get the sense of the X and the Y axis. In conflict resolution, it is all about your level of assertiveness. How highly assertive am I being in the conflict or challenge, or how unassertive am I being? So with assertiveness, it's how much do I want to satisfy my needs? How vocal, how much do I need to assert my wishes and opinion and desires to get my needs met? Or how unassertive am I being? Maybe it doesn't matter. And then cooperativeness is the other axis, is how cooperative are you being? How cooperative is your client being? So you could be highly cooperative, really cooperative and responsive with that person or that situation, or less cooperative. And the level of cooperativeness is how much do I let others get what they need or not. So assertiveness, we go up into how much more I need to get my needs met or our needs. And cooperative is how much do I want to help other people get what they need or less of that. Give me 3 if this is resonating. Or if you have a question, ask it. So it's like write on your piece of paper, it's a conflict resolution is about my needs getting met, your needs getting met, our needs getting met, or none of our needs. It's all about needs. And so you see this in the biggest conflicts in the world. It's all about trying to satisfy maybe our needs. And I don't care about their needs. That's highly assertive. Or cooperative. You know what? Let's just give them what they need. It's okay. It's not important to me. And then we can go like this. And that's how cooperative am I going to be in the challenge. We do that in our partnerships. We do that with friends and family, etc. I love this. Okay, Michelle, you avoid if a workplace manager is trying to bring me down rather than providing constructive feedback. Yeah, so it's a perfect example, Michelle, thank you, of if the workplace manager is bringing you down, they're likely being assertive in a critical energy. And so you're dropping down into avoidance. So let's look at this. So I'm going to go into the styles, and if you got a question, just put a question mark like on there so I can pause, because I'm watching you guys. I want to make sure you're following. So these are the 5 styles of conflict with the level of assertiveness that is needed, and then the level of cooperative that's needed. And I'm like dancing with it. So let me give you a brief overview of this. And again, none of these styles are good or bad. They are all needed. They all have a functional, absolutely necessary use for your clients to use, and also a dysfunctional way where they might be hurting themselves by using it at their own expense. So it's not appropriate. And so when you're listening as a coach, you're going to start to listen. Is this serving them or not? Are they getting their needs met or not? That's what I want you to start asking yourself. Okay? So let's do this run through here. So competing, it's a great word. If you think about this style, the goal is to win. And so it's a very assertive and uncooperative style. Again, listen, as I say, it's neutral. We might have our own charged feelings about hearing this. When you're in a competing energy, you're trying to get your own concerns met at the expense of someone else. You could be standing up for your rights when you're in a competing energy. You might be defending a position. You know, when you see someone really up there defending themselves, they're in a competing conflict style. They're really trying to get their voice out. Or they're trying to win. So that's why we call it competitive sports. Yeah. You're not out to accommodate someone on the field. You're out to win. So we could see sports players who are a little bit more accommodating energy, they get burrowed right over. That competing person's running right past them. So you can see a sports analogy. Same with teamwork and collaboration. When a team is really in sync, they're all collaborating as a win-win to win. Okay? And so this is perfect. I need to be in competing energy when I'm talking about, let's say, my prices in business. I can't drop down to compromising or accommodating. I've got to stay in an assertive, confident energy. We're going to go down to compromising. We hear this word a lot, and it's really to find a middle ground. So we see this in politics a lot. It's I get a piece of the pie. All right, and when you're coaching, you're listening, is it appropriate to compromise here? Is it okay to budge a little bit? Get a little bit of their needs met and a little bit of my needs met. So it could be 50-50, or it could be 75-25, but you're trying to split the difference or find a middle ground so that you can move forward. So that policy might not be perfect, but it allows you to move forward and have some wins towards what you want. If you stay in competing energy, we can see it in politics, it's a stalemate. Nothing happens. So sometimes we need to switch the style in order to keep the ball rolling, and we can maybe come back to it later. Accommodating. Y'all, I was a chronic accommodator. I still kind of am. It's okay, I'm working on it. It's unassertive and highly cooperative. And it's fine. This is a good one. It has an element of self-sacrifice. You might let the other person win. It's where you yield to others. So if it's not that important to you, accommodate. If your colleague really wants to speak at the next board meeting and you've spoken a couple times and they might say, hey, what do you think? And you say, yeah, go ahead. And you give them the easy win, but you do it consciously to empower them to grow. And they might also want to give you a win later. But you can see how if you say in a competing energy and you just need to always be that front of the helm in the boardroom, it can cause other challenges. So you're consciously trying to choose, when am I going to yield? When do I need to find a middle ground, or when do I need to win? Corey, I'm so glad this is mind-blowing. Good. Yes. Okay. We got 2 more, y'all, and then I'll open it up. Avoiding, again, neutral. Avoiding is perfect if you're highly emotionally charged. If you're, if I'm like pissed off about something, that is the time where I delay. I don't go into the conflict to try to address it yet. I delay it. Tracey calms down. Tracey goes for a walk. I do this consciously. I say, I'm going to consciously avoid right now. And then when I'm calmed down, after I've delayed, I then jump into a different style. Like, okay, now I need to speak up about something. I go into a competing energy. Or maybe now I'm available to brainstorm. But when I'm highly charged, I'm not available. So avoidance is when you ignore the conflict, and the goal is either temporarily. So your clients as well, like help them if they could explode in anger, to empower them to avoid, because it's a good thing. It's perfect to avoid if that's happening, because you don't want them to cause other repercussions. So tell them avoidance is perfect, and then they can go into another style when they're calmed down. It's a way to postpone the challenge. Or honestly, guys, if it's not that important, avoid it. Has anyone been in a team meeting or a meeting and it went on and on and on because you're talking about stuff that doesn't matter? Just put a 4. If you've sat in one of these amazing meetings that just overly talked about things that just didn't matter. Okay, everyone's going to say yes. That's when it would be brilliant to just move on, avoid it. You know what, this isn't important. Let's move it to later, or, let's keep the ball rolling. Collaboration at the dysfunctional level is when you just over talk about everything. You think you're collaborating, but you're wasting time when you just need to move on. Yeah, love it. Notice where you are, guys. I forgot to say, where do you sit most of the time? As I'm talking, you're going to see yourself. I'll ask you at the end, who are you? And the last one, collaborating, and I always save it to the end for a reason. Collaborating is the most used style, or the most used word in the workplace, and yet it's the most misunderstood, and it's often the least used in the way that conflict resolution teaches it. Collaboration is where you find a win-win solution. So not a compromise, not anytime you see something where people are not getting everything they need met, it's always a compromise. So a lot of times companies say, and I just say companies because but you can think about your client, they might be sacrificing their needs, or there's not a win-win. And so collaborating takes a lot of time. You cannot collaborate in 5 minutes, maybe, but it takes time to come together for a solution. Collaborating is where it's the birthplace of innovation. So big tech innovations come in, transformative policies, collaboration within families, coming together to create even better outcomes. This is collaboration, is people are working together and everyone's needs are met. Everyone's needs are met. And they're often, this is where the creative solutions come in. So everyone's being assertive because everyone's talking about what they need, and everyone's cooperating and really trying to satisfy everyone. It is like, it's a beautiful place to be. So now that you all are listening, where do you sit? Where do you think you are? Put in your style that you believe you are. Corey, accommodating. Alice, compromise, collab. Michelle, accommodating, compromising. Peter, collab. Nalita, compromising. Okay, all right, I'm reading them. Keep it coming. I used to be accommodating a lot until I had a holy crap moment when I took this training, and I realized that I needed to assert myself more. I really wasn't asserting myself where I needed to, and it was hurting me. And I remember sitting in that room with Ron Fisher training me, and I just thought, oh no, this is going to take a lot of inner work. So your clients are unconsciously running this. They're hitting repeat on a behavior. Is this making sense? Any questions on the 5 styles? Anastasia, how do you apply this to inner conflicts? Oh, that's a great question. It's a big question. First, self-awareness. So being really aware of yourself and knowing your dynamic. Do I tend to be cooperative and try to please everyone else at the expense of myself? Where is it going to be really hard to speak my truth and be assertive? Or am I trying to always gather the consensus of the group and overly collaborate when maybe I just need to be a leader and step up? How would that change my identity? How would that change the way in which I approach challenges? So I know I don't have a ton of time. You're going to all get the slide deck after this as well, so you're going to be able to see more about this. But I want to just make sure I cover 2 more points for you guys to make sure you're complete. The biggest thing is to just be aware of the 5 styles of conflict. If you've gotten a nugget of wisdom out of understanding this dynamic, then I've done my work. Your ability to realize that you're meant to choose all 5 of these at any given time to empower yourself and your clients, that's the takeaway. So I've created this one, which I'm very proud of, and I really want to make sure if we close with this is very important. As a coach, again, we can get caught in the mindset. I want you to start listening to what conflict style this person's using when you're listening in their session. So I've got a bunch of behaviors that I hear all the time from my beautiful clients. I love you guys. So here they are. So rather than recognizing this person's over-delivering something, maybe that person's always taking on that extra thing, you could see that it's dysfunctional. Rather than going into the mindset first, if you're going to apply conflict resolution, you're going to go into the conflict style. They're saying yes all the time. They're accommodating. That person's walking right over and saying, hey, can you help with this? And they say, yeah. And then they don't get out of the office till midnight at the expense of family, at the expense of going to the gym. So I want you to listen. Okay, actually, what I'm hearing is you're accommodating. And I'll give you some questions you can ask after. Again, not speaking up. Rather than going into how come you don't speak up, it's about, how come you're not that assertive? Talk about the assertiveness. Are you trying to cooperate or please other people? It'll help you change the kinds of questions that you're asking in your sessions. I have had some clients where they speak a lot, and it might be because they're nervous, but they're trying to fill space. So they're trying to be very assertive because they're afraid of what might come up if they were quiet. And so I'll go into that competing energy. They might always need to win or defend their position. And I'm listening for that because I'm noticing they might not be getting the perspective of other people. So I'll say, that's an interesting perspective. What do you think the perspective is of other people? Have you, collaboration's really important, but it needs time. Have you ever just done an hour meeting just to get the feedback of other people? What could that do? And so I take like the style and I try to help them to see from a different perspective another way of going about it. Is that resonating? How are you feeling? So it's like, I love all the like ex-husband comments, these colleagues, right, exactly. And remember, we assume a certain conflict style based on other people. So you have to understand, own your co-creation. Accommodating, I see this a lot with entrepreneurs. They might be really relaxed with their rules or their boundaries, or they'll reduce their prices or not feel strong when they're pitching or talking to VCs or angel investors. So they're in a less assertive, cooperative energy, and I want to help to coach them to own their assertiveness, to own their opinions, to find their voice. So I talk about how they're dropping down and it's disempowering them. And I just bring in another perspective. Like, I have one client, well, what would it mean if you were just assertive about your prices? And this just helped them create so much more money, so much more success, because they didn't budge anymore. They stayed and practiced that behavior of assertiveness. So what about you all? Like, which one do you run? Look at this list. Are you the person running those long team meetings? Be honest. Are you not avoiding not taking an action? I know you're afraid of something, and that's okay as a coach, but I'm telling you, ignore the mindset for now. Start to look at the behavior. Caroline with the exploding in anger, and then I'm going to slowly come to a close here. But write yourself down. I'm reading it. So, Caroline, good question. I know Marie has done, and Janine, I believe as well, has done training in like Brene Brown's work around people can chandelier, so they can explode in anger. And tell me if this is not correct, because I haven't heard it in a while. But people can explode in anger. Now I'm going to go to the other slide for a second to explain. Let's see. So oftentimes, and this is a dynamic, when people are in an avoiding or accommodating energy, unassertive and highly cooperative, they'll bottle stuff down, they'll repress how they feel, they won't talk about what their needs are, they'll wait for someone else to change. Like, there's all these dynamics going on, and then boom, they're pissed off, they're angry. They go right up into competing, and they're asserting what they need, but they're doing it and they're speaking in a way that's dysfunctional, and it doesn't help the conflict resolve. So when we're exploding in anger, we think we're talking about our needs, but we're actually, this is more of the training that would come after this, is that, but how you behave, how you use the style of competing is what really is where the magic is. So passive aggressive, perfect. It's, that's not a functional way of talking about how your needs are met, right? Everyone agrees. Okay, that type, we think we're expressing our truth, but if you ever do that with someone, that person's completely shut down. All right, so conflict resolution is not about shutting anyone down. It's about just talking and its level of communication and listening skills. And someone asked about collaboration at the bottom. I wrote dysfunctional because obviously these are all dysfunctional, so I probably should have just left it. But collaboration is so misinterpreted that we often only see the positive of it. So I just wanted to highlight that there's a negative way of using collaboration where there's long team meetings or too much discussion. So you think you're being collaborative, but you're wasting people's time, and you need to move on. Brilliant. So what I'm going to do is make sure you get the slide deck, because there's more things for you to listen to that I want you to read here, which are the what's going on in the situation. These are 8 key attributes to listen to. How much stress is there? Is the conflict simple, or is it highly complex? How important is this topic to the people involved? Is there time or not? Do you got to make a call or not? So I want you to read this, and I started to put the styles of when you could use them in a functional way. And yes, Harleen, you will get the slide deck. So these are other things as a coach you can listen to that I wanted you to be aware of. Okay, I love this gift. The other thing that I want you to notice is when you're coaching, use the language of conflict resolution. We hold up the mirror, right? This is the point of this gift. We hold up the mirror to our clients. So if you're noticing they're avoiding, hey, I'm noticing you're avoiding. Do you feel that that's what you're doing? What's keeping you in avoidance? Have you tried to be more assertive, or what could that look like? So when you're coaching on the behavior, you're speaking the conflict style out loud, which helps educate your client, holds up the mirror of what you're seeing, and then can help them think, ugh, I don't think I want to keep avoiding because I'm not going to get the results that I want. So you could help them create the behavioral change. So hold up the mirror using the styles, not just the limiting belief holding them back. Is that clear? With using the language when you're coaching and holding up the mirror in that way? Okay. And then, of course, as you're talking them through, get them a commitment. I think this is step 4. Get a commitment to how they're going to change their behavior. Because nothing happens if that person doesn't go out there and do something different. So the intention in conflict resolution coaching is to start the behavioral changes. Get them in a more assertive energy if they need to. Get them to avoid if they tend to explode in anger. Just get them to delay. Help them to find a collaborative way of moving forward that is a win-win for everyone. Get them to give someone a win and accommodate. So when you learn deeply, and this I do like week-long trainings in this, day-long, week-long, you'll start to help them create results, because as a coach, you're going to be aware of what you can ask them. So these are perfect questions from the slide deck that you can incorporate into your coaching practice. And the last thing is because I'm holding this training and I have another one with a large company, if you feel that this behavioral framework is missing from your coaching, I'm sure you have a lot of questions about, like, really what does this mean on a deep level. You want to take the TKI, understand your styles. You want to really be able to deliver this framework to your clients to help them create those changes. I would love to help you help your clients, because together we're going to collectively make a difference. And I'm so passionate about this work that I could talk about this for days. So I've created a half-day live online workshop. You're invited. It's on August 13th from 1 to 4:30 p.m. London time. And if you would be interested to learn the more details, you might want to be in the room. We're going to do a real much deeper dive on this. Please email me, Tracey@TraceyLiv.com, or Empower World will send the details. You all are invited, as well as the other company I'm going to be working with, to help you really make sure that you can coach effectively in conflict resolution and feel confident in that. So please, you're invited. Send me a message after. And let's close. So thank you. I feel like that was a fun run, and I'll stay after as well and take any questions if people have them.
Thank you, Tracey. That was a rip-roaring roller coaster ride through conflict resolution, with lots of fantastic information to support people to understand the behavioral patterns of what's going on under the why we do the things we do. So thank you so much for that. Thank you, everybody, for staying and listening from the great Tracey. Janine, do you have anything to add before we close off?
Yes, I just very quickly, many people on this webinar know who we are, myself and Marie, and of course they've got to know Tracey. For those of you who don't know, Marie and I, we are the co-founders and directors of Empower World, just for your information. And again, if you would like to join our mailing list for these ongoing webinar series that are being delivered by our alumni, please do put your email address in the chat, and we will add you to our list and let you know what's coming up. And so next month, on the 5th of August, we've got Karen Porter, who again has done our training, who is an ACC ICF coach. She's a personal trainer, and she also incorporates coaching into her work. So she'll be coming on board to share how she incorporates coaching into her business, but also how health, wellness, fitness, mindset, how they all are linked together, and will also provide an opportunity for people to ask questions about how to create this link. So we'll send information about that very shortly. We hope you can join us for our upcoming webinar. Thank you again, Tracey. It was brilliant. I learned so much, and it was yeah, again, mind-blowing. So thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, and thank you everybody else for being here as well and supporting.
Yes, thank you, Janine. And if you want to know more about our work apart from our website, we also have a coaching and leadership podcast that you can download on wherever you get your podcasts from. We look forward to hearing from you. We'd love to hear your feedback on this webinar, what you loved, what you want more of. So thank you so much. As Tracey said, she can stay for, say, 10 minutes extra, Tracey, to ask any specific questions that you all have. Yes,
happy to. If you want to, I'll jump on and just speak to me. I'm happy to explain or talk through anything. So questions, anything, please jump on. Don't be shy.
Thank you, everyone.
Hey, Tracey.
Hey, Tevin.
Once again, thank you. That's always very insightful. There's a, I wanted to know, how do you actually deal with people who think in black and white? I completely agree with you. I share the same philosophy. There's no good, there's no nothing bad. But yes, just to put everything in a context, yesterday I had the opportunity to, and there's like the Black Lives Matters, you know, that movement, and there's a lot of division, a lot of anger, and I'm more into talking, and you know, so I had the opportunity yesterday to actually talk with someone that is considered as a white supremacist and that kind of thing, and I just wanted to hear a little his opinion. I don't judge, so I'm pretty sure that he gets his reasons. And that was really insightful, but at the same time, it was quite difficult for me to try to even explain anything, because it was really thinking in terms of black and white. So I don't especially know how would you deal in that kind of a situation.
I can only imagine how difficult that must have been, and I know you a little bit as well. And that's such a big question. And I'll say I'm probably not going to say this perfectly, so I'm prefacing with that. When I hear you explaining that, and if I would look at from conflict resolution, one of the 8 key attributes that you can look at on the slide deck is the level of listening and communication skills. And so if people are shut off, unavailable to listen, unavailable to communicate, or maybe be open to hearing something that would challenge their worldview or belief system, it is exceedingly challenging to try to resolve it, because it takes, at the end of the day, willing partners to try to transform a situation. And so on one regard, if you were leaning in to listen and maybe change how you were feeling, but it would require that from him as well. And so that's where a lot of frustrations of things we can come in, because we're trying to change. But I would also say, in conflict resolution and the work that I've done with the faculty, it's starting with people who are leaning into change is a brilliant way to help change big conflicts such as racism and challenges with white supremacies. Starting with other people who might not believe that anymore, or younger kids who haven't yet developed that hardened sentiment, that's going to help to create the change. But sometimes talking to someone who's so, like you said, black and white, that might not be the first person to go to. That's my thoughts, but what do you think, Tevin? What's coming up for you?
No, for me, it's I was really interested to. I don't really believe in any kind of a big movement. I just believe in individual and their experience. So, and the reason I contacted him is because he had made a comment that was quite outrageous, but a lot of people were attacking him, and I don't especially like that too. So I decided actually to reach out to him and to say, listen, I'm really sorry that you were attacked that way. You certainly have an experience. And so, and actually he opened quite a lot, and I realized that there was a lot of pain on his side. But I was quite happy to understand a little better how some people can think. And so it was I was happy with that. But on one side, I really wanted him to be able to think that, okay, do you know what? People can have another experience. And I didn't really go through that at all, but I came on the call not to change anyone's opinion. I just tried to understand. But because you were talking about conflict resolution, I was like, okay, is it worth to actually start that kind of conversation? I think that is important. But yes, so I was just thinking, okay, that was a great conversation. I learned a lot, but I was not especially able to maybe to help him maybe see things in another angle.
Well, and I would say to close, I wrote that you can look up information on the difference between debate, dialogue, and discussion, the 3 Ds. So what are the differences in those? And dialogue is where the work that I've done around race dialogues is that you can't argue with someone's experience. And so when we can try to have more of a dialogical approach to any of these conversations, it diffuses any debate, it diffuses any of that challenge. And so I think, and I also would recommend to say, who knows if in 5 years' time, something that you said, just he gets it. And I think sometimes with conflict, we want them to be resolved immediately, but it might take, he might have certain experiences that help him to then change. So I wouldn't say if you don't see it, it's not real, but maybe just lean into the fact that he might see it later. And because you were so heartfelt, and I know you, leading from your heart, we would say, I would hope that that could happen. So thank you for that experience. Anyone else want to share something or have a question?
Hi, Tracey.
Hi, Amber.
Yeah. I just wanted to thank you. That found so much of that really useful. This was really good. Thank you. Just wanted to ask, I've been dealing with somebody lately who's been, I guess, seems to be approaching it from kind of like an ego type point of view and like competing, trying to win, almost sort of who's to blame, that sort of thing, and then being very avoidant and defensive. What's the best way of dealing with somebody who's using that style? Is it best to just say, okay, we're both getting worked up, let's kind of go and calm down and then let's chat in a couple of hours' time? Is that the best way to deal with it, or is there a better way?
Amber, what style do you feel you use around them when they're in that energy?
See, I was looking at the 5 styles you were talking about, and I think I'm somewhere between, I think I kind of bounce around between probably compromising and accommodating. I'd say I'm somewhere between those two. And then I sort of get to a point where I get a bit frustrated because they're not meeting me and it feels like I'm trying to do all the work.
Well, that's good awareness. And have you ever been highly assertive when they're being highly assertive?
Sometimes, but I think I'm the type of person that I'm not necessarily quick off the mark, so I need time to go away and think about what I want to say. So assertiveness is something that I've been working with at the moment. So something I want to improve.
Well, I would lean into that.
Okay.
And I would say, in my experience, sometimes people who are in the competitive energy, when people around them are constantly compromising, accommodating, one, they might think that they then have the right answer, and they might need to continue to fulfill being in an assertive role to lead and be right. So that's why the dynamic's important. So they might be used to that and not used to someone coming in assertive. Now, you'll have to remember your energy when you're being assertive. It's about putting both feet on the floor, really centered and grounded, and asserting how you're feeling and what you're noticing. And this is where a lot of practice comes in. And you could also help to diffuse them by being assertive, but also saying, look, we both have needs that we need to get met. Would we, in a collaborative style, would say, can we take both of our thoughts? Let's meet together for an hour out of the office. I recommend it. Get out of there, go get a coffee and sit down and say, how you doing? We've got this challenge. Let's actually collaborate. Let's see if we can find a win-win. Use some of the language, but stay in that energy, because when people move down to accommodating, it kind of ends. So those are two things, but I don't know if you've tried any of that or what you think about that.
Yeah, so I think when you first said to be more assertive, the first thing I thought was, okay, if they're up there and then I sort of come up there, are we both going to kind of, sort of blow up? So I was wondering how that would look, but yeah.
So if I have a disagreement with my husband, because he's out of the house, so I can talk about it. He can come in and be highly assertive about something he wants, but if that's something I'm not going to budge on, I have to honor my needs and my voice and what I need, and say, match him and say, you know what, I'm on a completely different page right now. But he won't know my perspective if I don't share it, and neither will this person. So it's about speaking when you need to, and really making yourself seen and known, even if it's scary or it makes you shake. Stand with your feet on the floor, make sure you're breathing, and be in a place. Go to them when you're ready, and talk to them, or get out of a workplace. But this is the big thing, is people think if they're competing, I should be another style, but that's not necessarily the case. So maybe you could try that.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's interesting. Gives me a completely different perspective. I think I thought I would need to have more sort of skills at trying to bring them down rather than me kind of come up. So yeah.
And if you want, I'm happy, if you want to do like a 30-minute session on that, just a complimentary, I'm happy to, if you just email me. And if you want to just explore it a little bit more and see if we can help make some changes.
Yeah, that'd be great. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for that. Amy, you're raising your hand? Or is that Manal?
Hello.
Hi.
I would like first really to thank you for this amazing awareness. It's like we are taking out of us the decisions and the behavior and just looking at them. It's really powerful for me. I don't know, you're talking and I'm really thinking about my actual challenge. It's about my daughter. She's 5 years old, and I know at this age, the beliefs are started to be built. So there's no belief. We are building the beliefs, and I can see her being the victim and being the compromising person and pleasing others, and it's like being really painful for me, because I went through this, and after the coaching, it was like a big change for me. So I don't know if we can have like keys to apply with the kids to be out of this victim deal or place, or this the compromising and pleasing others, and to go more for the assertiveness.
Well, it's a great example, especially bringing in that she's 5, and I appreciate you sharing that, because I have a 1-year-old, and very highly moldable at this point, and the conflict styles could start to be unconscious. And so helping with the language and talking to your daughter about you know, what does it even mean to be assertive? What does it mean to speak her voice? Does she get nervous? Does she want to make everybody happy? She may have heard beliefs in other places as well. And so, you know, I guess the biggest thing would be to know how to empower your daughter, use all the styles when she's also 5. And, you know, I remember being 5, we want everyone to like us and pleasing. But I mean, I guess my question would be, where do you see her easiest win? What would be the easiest thing that she could potentially change? And I would start there rather than the big change. What would you say? Like what she wants for dinner. Don't let her just say, whatever you want, mommy. You're like, actually, sweetie, I would really love you. I want you to choose tonight. It's silly, but it's not letting it off with the small stuff. Like, what do you think?
Yeah. It's a good point to start with. I can see her style with me. She is being different than with the friends.
Yeah.
She's having this compromising style with the friends. When there conflict, when there are like having issues, she's going for that, being the compromiser person. Okay, it's important to know where to start. Yeah.
And I do work in people taking 2 TKI assessments. They can take one in the workplace and understand how they show up and armor up and mask on when they go into work. And then they take another one, what they're like in their personal life. And it's fascinating. People usually have 2 completely different assessments of how they have to be at work, how they are at home. So again, conflict's behavioral, and there's a lot of dynamics going on with your daughter around how can I get my needs met in this group? And she might be assuming that compromising is going to help her do that. And so just be aware she will change with you and other people, and maybe just see where an easy win could help empower her with her friends, or at least give her some perspective. I think it's great as a mom to want to help her in this, and start young, everybody.
Yeah. I actually always empower her. You have the solutions, you have ideas, you have lots of ideas. What do you choose now? Just to feel better. Anyway, thanks for your amazing answer. It's really inspiring. Thank you.
You're welcome. Anyone else?
Can I do a little share?
Yes. Hi, Corey.
Well, let's just, as you know, Tracey, I belong to a Buddhist organization, and they have this thing where they call it true democracy to arrive at a solution ultimately. They don't say like the most number that wins, but to arrive at a solution that everyone's happy with. And this doesn't necessarily mean the dysfunctional form of collaboration where you have meetings for hours and hours and hours. But what they do, the leadership group does, is they discuss something and then they go away and they chant about it. And then they come back and then they chant about it. And then they come back and they chant about it. And they keep doing that until they reach a truly a decision that everyone agrees with. And it does take more time, but it's very powerful, because it's a sort of leave no one behind type attitude where positions shift because people are doing the inner work away from the session. So I just wanted to share that as a collaborative model, because I think it's fascinating, and maybe other people are interested to hear that. I don't know.
I think that's great. I think that's really cool. And I like that they come together and then everyone goes away and lets it integrate. And collaboration at its highest form of consciousness, of evolution, is it's the time that we can spend on something that matters, something that's complex, that matters to everyone. It's a beautiful place to be able to not just say, let's just make a decision and move on, which is a lot of our culture. Fast decisions, move on, lots to do, quantity work, and it's this quality that collaboration can bring in. So I really like that as an example.
And thank you, by the way, it was brilliant. Just loved it.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, well, why don't we wrap up? If anyone has one last thing, or else we can slowly close up. I think this was great, and I appreciate all of you, all 25 of you, to stay on a little bit longer with your time. I really value that, so thanks again.
Thank you very much, Tracey, for spending the extra time with us all and allowing the exploration of this to be even deeper. I know you've made a big impact on all of our learning, so thank you very much from the bottom of our heart.
Thank you.
Wishing everybody a wonderful day. Stay connected, stay safe, stay happy and loved, and we will see you next time. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks all. See ya.